Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara Ham Lee. Residents of Hampton and Norfolk cast their ballots last month and elected a new mayor in both cities. For the city of Norfolk, it's a historic election. For the first time ever, an African American was selected as mayor, and his name is Kenneth Alexander. Hampton voters decided it's time for change, and they elected Mr. Donnie Tuck. We have both gentlemen with us here on Another View. What will they do differently to grow each city and make life better for their constituents? Meet the mayors-elect. Another View is next, right after this news from NPR.
Discussing today's topics from an African American perspective, this is Another View.
Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to Another View. I'm Barbara Ham Lee. Just want to give a quick shout out to our interns from our marketing department that are hanging out with us today so that they can watch how we do production with Another View. And we also have community activist Susan Fight with us today from the control room, also taking a look and checking out how we put together the show. So that's really awesome. One owns a funeral home, and one sports a Super Bowl ring from his time with the Washington Redskins. Both believe in public service, and both will lead cities with economic growth and concentrated poverty. We're pleased to have with us today the mayor-elect of Hampton, Mr. Donnie Tuck. Hi, Donnie. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank
Great.
you for having me.
And joining us by phone is the mayor-elect of Norfolk, Mr. Kenneth Alexander. Hi, Kenny.
Hi, Barbara. It's good to be with you.
Thank you so much. We both appreciate it. And audience, I did ask both gentlemen if it was okay if I called them by their first name, so I am not being disrespectful. Some people get a little squirrely about that when when we're talking with elected officials. So both of you, I believe, will be sworn in July 1st. But Donnie, as I was talking to you earlier, there's really a little bit of a glitch there in Hampton.
Well, we moved our actual swearing-in date from the 1st of July to the first meeting in July, which is actually July 13th. Okay. Our charter requires that I be in place and able to act as mayor on July 1st, so there'll be an unofficial swearing-in that'll take place prior to that time.
Okay, and then Kenny, you are sworn in on the 1st, is that right?
That is correct.
That is correct. Okay, so Kenny, in your first 100 days, what do you want to do? What do you envision doing as you take on this new role?
Thank you, Barbara. Yes, the first 100 days is continue to meet the wonderful civil servants, those individuals who are running the day-to-day operations of our city. I've begun already to meet with the management team led by Marcus Jones, as well as some of the department heads, and getting out into the field and to our schools as well, just to have a orientation of our city. I've certainly been in the city all of my life and have worked in many capacities, but this is a new role. It's 10 years in the House of Delegates, 4 years in the Senate of Virginia, and often you see things from that level. But returning back to city government, where I started 20-some years ago, back in the 90s, 94, I received my first committee or commission appointment by the city council. So just first 100 days to make sure I land in the right places.
Okay. And Donnie, your first 100 days?
Well, I don't define mine as 100 days, but what I'm doing right now is actually more or less listening. And I did have a presentation for a business group on this past Wednesday, which was the first opportunity. But what I've done is I've tried to set up appointments with just about every organization. I guess when I say organization, I've set up to talk to a gentleman, NASA Langley, conversations with Hampton University, with business leaders, with community leaders, which is something that's been ongoing. So the idea is really try and get that aspect that I haven't been exposed to previously as a council member, and just try and make sure that I establish those relationships and find out what their interests are and how they can assist us.
Okay. So, Kenny, you know, your election was a historic election. I mean, Mayor Frame was in office for 22 years. So this truly is a new era in Norfolk. You shied away from the racial aspect, if you will, in terms of you being the first African American mayor. Talk a little bit about that and
Yeah,
how
so
that
yeah,
feels.
certainly, Barbara. Very, very proud and happy, of course, and very aware of the historic significance of this election, and but did not want it to be relegated just to being the first African American mayor. But as you and I have talked, I believed and others believed that I was the best qualified person. Obviously, and the voters felt the same way, and it was not. The election was not based on race,
Right.
because we won all over the city, and with three well-known candidates, and both the two other candidates, of course, currently office holders, and they have served the city well. It was more than race. The voters in Norfolk looked at the qualifications, and they voted for the best person. However, I'm aware, and I'm very blessed, and very thankful, and very grateful, and that for the opportunity to be recognized as the first African American to hold the position since Norfolk was founded back in the 1600s. I wanted again to put forth the agenda and policies and things that I want to lead, and have my council to join me in making the changes that's needed in Norfolk, and not necessarily to just focus on he's the first African American elected. He's the first African American elected, and you'll be defined if I allow that to happen. That would define the selection, and I did not want it to be defined. But more importantly, it is significant, it's meaningful, and we all are very proud. The citizens of Norfolk, the business community, we all are proud of this moment, but do not want it to be the
end all be all in terms of your,
because you're defined by that, and that'll be your administration.
Absolutely. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240 are the numbers to call to join our conversations, particularly if you live in Norfolk or Hampton. But of course, we recognize and welcome calls from all over Hampton Roads, because after all, this is a regional area. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240 are the numbers to call if you have questions for the mayor-elect of Hampton, Donnie Tuck, or the mayor-elect of Norfolk, Kenny Alexander. So, Kenny, let me ask you, when you were a little boy growing up in Berkeley, did you sit around and go, one day I'm going to run this whole city?
Well, not quite. I spent a lot of time, Barbara, watching all of the debates, be it the Republican National Convention or the Democratic National Convention, and I would even decorate my room with campaign memorabilia and propaganda. I took one of my class pictures, my high school pictures, with the American flag behind me, with a blue blazer, gold buttons, arms folded, as if I was running for Congress, and so
where did that come from? Where did your interest come from?
I think my father, of course, was in business. He was in the funeral business, and my grandmother was the secretary of a church. And there's always an election in Virginia every year, and politicians and those candidates who were seeking re-election would always come to our church and to campaign, and they had to go through my grandmother because she was the secretary. She was a gatekeeper, and I was reared by my grandmother, so I just got fascinated. But then I got involved in policy. I mean, just understanding the impact of policies, housing policies, education policy, economic development policies, infrastructure policies, and I understood very early the impact that those decisions would have on my life and on the community. So just kind of got hooked.
So, Donnie, you grew up in Durham, North Carolina.
Chapel Hill,
At Chapel
actually.
Hill,
Yes.
actually. Sorry, pardon me.
It's fine.
And again, I'll ask you the same question. Did you sit around going, one day I'm going to be a mayor of the great city? Where did the desire to serve the public come from?
Believe it or not, in the first grade, I had aspirations to be president of the United States.
Really?
In the South in the early 1960s. So
Wow.
by that dream. But I think for me, it was I grew up about 4 blocks from the heart of downtown Chapel Hill. In my neighborhood, we had 3 dirt streets. And every time my parents and the community heard that they were paving streets in Chapel Hill, they'd sign the petitions and try and get those streets paved. And actually, had moved away and was about 25 years of age before they finally paved those streets. And my sense was that my parents and all those in my neighborhood paid taxes, and they deserved to have had some service. And so I think that's what kind of led me along the path to trying to be an elected official.
So the materials that I've read about you and about your tenure on city council and so forth, and even the way that, if the quote in the paper, Daily Press, was correct, that you described yourself as kind of an outsider in terms of city council. So how do you pull your city council members all together so that you guys can walk in lockstep moving forward?
It's not a flattering statement about previous leaders of our city government, but that was the atmosphere that was created, that I was kind of marginalized. Personally, I believe that the folks who are on council are people of goodwill. We all want the best for our city, and so I don't think there'll be any real challenges. What I'm trying to do now, and I've met so far with 3 of the city council members, and I plan to meet with the other 3 within the next 2 weeks or so, and just kind of let them know that I'm not a radical, that there are 3 or 4 things that basically I want to try and accomplish, and ask them as much, what are the things that they're looking back 5 or 10 years from now, what would they want their legacy to be and what they want to focus on, and let's find a way of trying to move forward together.
So, Kenny, let me ask you the same question in terms of you've got some new people and you've inherited some people.
Yes.
And so how do you bring them together so that the agenda works?
Right, yes. So I've also met with every member on council more than once. I have had the privilege of sitting since elected in every council meeting, all of the meetings, the formal sessions, informal sessions, as well as the sitting through the agenda, and also the public comment period. There will be 3 new members, Andrea
McClellan,
and there will be an election for Ward 1, and we will join the 5 members that are currently there. We all, I believe, want the same thing for our city, in safe schools, safe neighborhoods, safe communities, and continue the economic development that we have experienced downtown. But we want, and we believe that same vitality needs to flow throughout the 100 unique and distinct neighborhoods.
And, I want you to pick up on that because I want to answer to both of you. How do you balance, because I know in Norfolk, this has been one of the criticisms, Kenny, that all the emphasis has been was put on downtown and rebuilding it to the detriment of the neighborhoods. So how do you balance the needs?
You see, I don't think it has been at the detriment of the neighborhoods because if we look back 20, 30 years ago, our downtown was dismal. It was a lot of surface lots, a lot of parking lots, a lot of asphalt, and a lot of the activity had moved out to the suburbs and quite frankly, to other cities. And Norfolk made the decision to invest heavily in downtown, and a lot of it was public-private partnerships, but also a lot of it was private investments. Norfolk made the case that Norfolk is the hub of the region. We have 5 institutions of higher learning. We have the largest naval base in the world. We have the only NATO presence outside of Brussels. We're the only city in Virginia with light rail and a cruise terminal. And we have, in our research hospital, Centera Norfolk General, and the only freestanding children's hospital in Virginia, which is CHKD. Norfolk made the case that we need to invest in downtown. It will generate general fund dollars so that we can reinvest in our neighborhoods. Now is time to make that promise or make a commitment and go through with the promise that we would come back and invest in our neighborhoods with strategic plans and comprehensive plans. And like Donnie said, getting out in the community and listening to make sure that our interests are in line with the communities. And so I will place emphasis on that commitment and building out our communities, our neighborhoods, and our schools to make sure that they are safe and that they are prosperous and that they survive and thrive as well as our downtown has had this resurgence.
Okay, Donnie, same question to you then. How do you balance the building, the economic development, if you will, in the city versus the neighborhoods?
Well, I had a meeting this past Monday with two members from our downtown business community. And in that discussion, they fully accepted that right now the economic engine of our city is a Peninsula Town Center and Coliseum Central area. But also they recognize that there's been uneven development in our city, both among the business community as well as the neighborhoods. And so what I want to try and do, and I've tried to express to others, and I said during the course of the campaign, is that we've got to try and make sure that we bring everybody up, that we make the pie bigger so that, and no one hardly talks about the Phoebus community, and those individuals have been through the closing of Fort Monroe as well as a recession. And we've got to try and assist them as well. So the idea is to try and make the pie bigger. And with respect to neighborhoods, we've got master plans for about 4 of our neighborhoods, I believe, or maybe 3. But the idea is that what about the other neighborhoods? So we've got to try and make sure that we try and bring everybody up. And I think it's doable. Again, we have limited resources, but I think we can be more strategic and try and leverage the assets that we have, and we can hopefully bring them up.
Okay, and I'm going to come back to neighborhoods in just a minute, but we've got some calls here. Annie joins us from Norfolk. Hi, Annie. You're on the air. Hello?
Hey, is this me?
Yes, it is. You're on the air.
Sorry, it's Uni. Hey,
Uni. Sorry, I apologize.
That's right. One quick compliment. Years ago, Dr. Mason Andrews had met with Kenneth Alexander and I used to work with Dr. Andrews and said, you know what? He is going to go very far. He's a great guy. And I'm like, wow, now he is here and is our new mayor. But my main concern for the city, although I don't have children in school, it impacts all of us, is the school system. And what can we do, whether it's at neighborhood levels, to facilitate, to accountability, to help, because I think that's one of the biggest problems that we have in Norfolk right now. Thank you.
Thank you for your call. Kenny?
Yes, thank you. She's absolutely right. Mason, Dr. Andrews, and I, although he was many years my senior, he was one of the pioneers and architects of the downtown, the revitalization of downtown. So thank you for mentioning that. She's absolutely right. Our housing policy and our school policy, as I've said to Barbara and others on the Housing Authority and to the school board, has to be in sync, has to be one policy. We have neighborhood schools in Norfolk. What does that mean? When you have high pockets of poverty and it's concentrated and it's specific and it's coupled with crime and it's coupled with high unemployment, it has a negative impact on children's ability and readiness when it comes to K-12. 66.1% of our kids in Norfolk Public Schools qualify for free or reduced lunch. That is the highest indication that they live in poverty and they are likely to lag behind or fail or drop out of school altogether. address those issues, those social ills that children bring with them to the classroom. Wraparound services, I believe, is a start where we wrap the family, we wrap that unit, the family, with supportive services. In about 252 of our households in public housing, Barbara, we have seniors as the head of the household. It could be a grandparent, it could be a aunt, but they're doing the very best they can with their grandkids, and so we have to provide those wraparound services not only for the child, but also for that family, to ensure that we can move that family into the middle class, where they can become self-sufficient, but more importantly, they can support education. When children return home after 6 or 8 hours into the community, what are the services there to help undergird their academic experience? And we don't have good data, and we don't have the outcomes that they are getting, that specialized or individualized attention back in the community and back at home.
So I'm going to ask you the same question, or I answered the same question, Donnie, in terms of schools in Hampton. What are the issues there?
Well, we only have, 12 out of about 29 schools that are fully accredited. And what I said in the course campaign is that when particularly military people are moving to this area and looking at this area, they look at our school system versus York County versus Poquoson, even looking at the South Side. So that's our challenge right now. But we've got a new school superintendent who's just completing his first year. He has an excellent record for turning around school systems, and I think he's going to do great things for us. One of the things that troubled me was that prior to this past April, the last time that we had a joint school board city council meeting was in February of 2013. And there was no sense of urgency about it. What people will say is that we fully fund the budget that they requested. They're an independent body, but those are our kids. And having great schools is the best economic development tool that you have. And so we recognize that. So once I think we start having more regular meetings, we're looking at maybe twice a year or something like that. But the idea is to find out where they are, what are the things that they need, what initiatives are they trying to put forth, how can we help? Are there needs that we don't know about? Kids come to school hungry. There are grants out there that we can apply for, would require maybe matching funds from the city, but those are kind of programs. And then, the environment the kids go back into after the 7 or 8 day hour at school, what can we do to improve that environment? Outreach counselors, just different things that we can put in place, but we can't do it if we don't know about it.
If you're just joining us, we're talking with the mayors-elect of the cities of Hampton and Norfolk, Donnie Tuck and Kenny Alexander. I believe my audience knows, but in case someone out there doesn't, I am the chair of the Norfolk Redevelopment and Housing Authority. And our board is very focused on, and Kenny, you and I have had some conversation about this, but we're very focused on deconcentrating poverty in the city. And I want to start with you, though, Donnie, because Hampton made a very specific decision to only have so much public housing in the city and so many housing choice vouchers in the city. And so I wonder, you tore down Lincoln Park. You're going to build mixed income. I understand that will be a mixed income community. So what happened to the other folks that had moved out of Lincoln Park, but also those who are in the poverty level who, if you don't have vouchers, they got to go someplace else?
That is a concern. And actually, I've been attending probably for the last 6 or 7 months on an ongoing basis the Hampton Housing and Redevelopment Authority or Redevelopment Housing Authority meetings. And I know that one of their concerns is the fact that some 65% I believe of the kids in our school system are on free or reduced lunch, the concentration of poverty. And what they're looking at right now, though, is to try and determine as much as they possibly can whether or not it's the kids who are under their supervision in terms of housing parks or Section 8 that are some of the low performers. And I'm not sure how you go about getting that kind of information, but that's a concern. I think from another perspective, and the question you asked, where those people go, I think unfortunately the city's attitude has been, we're not sure, and maybe it doesn't really matter that much to us because we have said publicly that research shows that we have more than our share of affordable housing. And so now one of the 4 economic development strategies that we have is higher value housing. We think that we've lost some population because, and this is the middle to upper income blacks and whites, because there wasn't a better choice of higher value housing. So that's something that we're stressing. And if you're talking about stressing that, you're not talking about having more affordable units.
So, Kenny, does that mean we wind up absorbing Hampton's population also? Newport News, others?
Yeah, we have been, we for the region, Norfolk certainly has been the place for the region where persons seeking public assistance and public housing, those persons have come. Barbara, as you know, as head of our housing authority, we have hundreds of units at Tidewater, 618 units there. Over at Calvert, I believe we have 310 units, and at Young's Terrace, 752 units. And we have to address our housing, our public housing units, because some of them are aging and some of them are in floodplains and looking more closely at housing choice vouchers. I think that we have a model over at Burritt Creek. I think that's a collaborative model where you have mixed income communities, and instead of not knowing what to do, I think that we have demonstrated in Norfolk that we know what to do, and I think it's time that we demonstrate that again by looking at Tidewater and Calvert first, because they are in the floodplain. And if you look at the 100-year floodplain, majority of Calvert and most of Tidewater would be underwater. Mm-hmm. It's expensive because, one, you have to look at stormwater management systems. You have to look at filling. If you're going to rebuild in those areas, you have to look at what it costs to fill. But more importantly, how do you transition so that you don't displace individuals who may not want to return? And so you have to look at your CHODOs, which is your community housing development programs, and transition those individuals throughout the communities. Some will be in single-family homes, those who can qualify as a first-time home buyer, which we have been successful in Norfolk with that program. And others will end up in the seniors, and we have 252, I believe, units that's occupied by seniors who are head of household, could very well go into one of our mid-rises, our high-rises. But again, they're taking care of, in some cases, they're taking care of small kids. So it's a comprehensive approach, but certainly, Barbara, we are probably at a more pressing time than other localities because of the floodplain and because of the recurrent flooding.
One of the things that we're working on also, and I think both of you can react to this, but this is also responding to the NIMBY mindset, the not in my backyard mindset. I know that with the Housing Authority and with other community groups throughout both cities, we're working hard to train those who need economic development or financial development training, to be good neighbors, to be able to handle the new place that they moved to, and so forth. But, it feels like we put a lot of emphasis on the low-income person who has to move. But what are we doing about the other community folks who need to be more accepting and more willing to accept people into their community? Who wants to take that first?
Donnie. I'll try it, actually. I think there's a situation presented to me last week by a homeowner. And in this neighborhood of homes that are priced around $300,000 a year, one resident decided to use whatever influence he had with the, I guess they have a homeowners group, yeah.
Mhm.
And so they've got, I think, HUD qualified, and being HUD qualified or FHA qualified allowed one of those, this particular resident, to use his home as a halfway house for recovering narcotic addicts. Also, and that created a problem for him, as well as now, because I think they are HUD qualified, they can now open the homes up for Section 8.
Mhm.
So that left a really poor taste in his mouth. And so I tried to investigate to find out if he had any kind of legal options, if the people doing what they were doing were actually within the codes of the city, allow them to do, I guess certain number of people who aren't related to each other being in the same house, and found out actually there's nothing we can do about it. So it would be very difficult if you're talking about a $300,000 home or neighborhood that now has some Section 8. But I think if people are accepting of people, period, and if in fact you do all the background stuff of trying to help the people who move into that neighborhood to be good neighbors, I don't really think that people will notice. I really don't think people will notice.
Kenny, you want to address that?
Yeah, Barbara, I think that, again, Broad Creek is a model where we have a mixed income community. And because Norfolk is pretty much developed, our opportunity for these mixed income communities solely rest in redevelopment. When we would do a redevelopment of 44 acres at a Tidewater Gardens, or redevelopment of 36 acres over at Young's Terrace. So our opportunity to create mixed income communities is probably greater than some of the other older cities. The second part of it, I think, Barbara, is when we really assess and evaluate each unit out of the thousands, 6,000-7,000 units that we have. I'm sorry, 29. We're at 29,000 units,
Yeah.
but it's about 6,000 people. Yeah, get it right. I think when we do that, we can certainly look at first-time home buyers. We have seen that there are people, after going through the various training programs, be it debt consolidation, cash flow, money management, responsibility of a homeowner, there's a percentage of those individuals who could qualify for market mortgage or market rent, and we have done this through the charter programs, and they're now homeowners, and the default rate is almost zero, and so we have some opportunities that exist here. And one of the policies that I'm very proud of that we've had, we have no involuntary displacement policy over NRHA.
Yes,
and I think that's, Barbara, you need to be commended, and your board need to be commended that those individuals who want to stay in community, once it's rebuilt and built in, mixed income housing, which we have done at Broad Creek, we're proud of that development. We don't hear of the social ills or a negative impact on the community. We have in that community, like we have in other communities, so 14-year-olds breaking in cars for the most part. I mean, we have those kinds of stats, but you don't have the call for services that we currently have in some of our traditional public housing communities where it's drug related or violence.
Well, speaking of drug-related and violence, in both cities, you're overseeing cities that have had a lot of violence lately, a lot of shootings, particularly in Norfolk, but Hampton is holding its own. So what are your plans in terms of trying to make the cities safer? Kenny, let me start with you.
Yeah. So what we have identified in Norfolk, Barbara, is that there's a little beef going on between certain communities, and I'll just call them out. For example, you have Huntersville and the South Side, and Berkeley, Compostela. There's a little beef going on between the two communities, and we have seen criminal activity and gun violence and threats between those two communities. One of the things that I've advocated for, and it's tough, is that we set up raids sweeps, even traffic stops, to start the deterring of that criminal activity. The second thing I've advocated for is to get guns off of our streets, and that will be launched through what we call a recovery or buyback program, if you will, through gift cards. Gift cards primarily will come from the businesses in the community. Those guns will be, of course, evaluated to see if those guns were used in the commission of a crime, and the Department of Forensic Science in Richmond will take over.
But Kenny, the people on the streets who are shooting, I mean, honestly, are they going to turn those guns in for a gift card?
Some of them will, and some of them won't. But what really will get at the heart of the problem is community engagement and code enforcement. When we have relaxed on code enforcement, for Barbara, for example, when I talk to my code enforcement people, they tell me that when it comes to NRJ property, that they have no control when it comes to enforcing our codes, but they can and they should enforce, my opinion, violations on any property.
Well, we're also working on that from the inside, just so you know.
I appreciate you. I didn't want to call you out on it, but I just thought I would just.
Oh, trust me, that is something that we have been dealing with in our meetings. So
I'm just saying. So it's going to take collaboration, and it's going to take code enforcement, and it's going to take community engagement, and then we have to be tough on crime. We have to be willing to prosecute and hold people accountable, and to let individuals know that we won't tolerate criminal activity in our city. And so I think it's going to be a collaboration, a combination of things: code enforcement, these raids, these sweeps, community engagement, and tough prosecutions.
Donnie, how are we going to stop the violence in Hampton?
I almost echo what Kenny just said. The other part of us, though, is that we found out in February through a report by our police chief that we were undermanned. And so I think one of the first things we have to do is try and make sure that we get the manning levels up to where they need to be. And then from there, try and find out what his action plans are. And he was going to come before us, actually, at our last regular council meeting. We had a really, really full agenda, and so we've kind of put that off till August, but we'll have a sense then of where we're going. And that's going to actually be kind of a comprehensive presentation, because we have a Safe and Clean initiative already underway, which is kind of what Kenny talked about with respect to codes enforcement. So we have that component in place. We have our youth violence prevention component that's in place. So we have several things. And one of the things we're looking at also is that came up with a structure for a program that will try and employ some of the 18 to 24-year-old African-American males for about 6 months with the city. And during the course of that time, they will also there's a workforce training component that they will get through Thomas Nelson Community College, in addition to some other soft skills training.
So again, it's the whole wraparound services.
Yes.
And we can talk about those soft skills training in a little bit. Absolutely. Let's see. Dave joins us from Norfolk. Hi, Dave. You're on the air.
Good afternoon. Very good discussion, and I'd like to thank you for taking my call. I am concerned, and this is for Mayor-elect Alexander. I'm concerned about the disparity that I see, which exists with regard to the neighborhoods. Barbara, you touched on it earlier about the concentration on downtown and fixing it up and making it beautiful. But I feel strongly that there's still some type of a lack of inclusivity for those people who are in the neighborhoods. I mean, it's all well and good for them to come down there when there's an event, but I don't feel like they're included the way that they should be. And I've heard you say some things, Mayor, about the various things that you plan to do. And I just want to know if you feel this existing, and if there will be some type of an effort on your part, as Norfolk is a manager council form of government, but there's a limitation on what can be done with the leadership as per the manager. But It has to be addressed, and I'm concerned about that.
Dave, when you say,
I'll hang up and let you answer.
Dave, before you hang up, let me make sure I'm clear on your question. Who is the they that you're talking about in terms of being
The people in
welcomed?
the neighborhood.
The people in the neighborhoods. Okay. Okay.
Particularly those people that are not included. And this has nothing to do with race. It has to do with inclusivity of the citizens.
Okay. Thank you very much for your call. Kenny?
Yes, Dave, thanks for your call. I think Dave is absolutely right. A lot of the policies are driven from the top down, and not necessarily from the bottom up or even from the middle. It is a problem, and we have 100 again, thereabout unique neighborhoods. But Barbara, I cannot tell you if there is a neighborhood plan, comprehensive plan, strategic plan, master plan for those neighborhoods. That the plan, it doesn't exist, and if it's so, it's a weak plan, and we should have plans that include economic development, infrastructure, quality of life, open space, a place, schools, improvement to the storm water management system. How are these communities walkable, bikeable? And so I agree with Dave. I would like the council to have some time spent on creating plans, strategic master comprehensive plans for our neighborhoods that's clear, easy to understand, and that's put together with the assistance of those individuals, those residents, those businesses, those churches, those faith-based organizations that exist or that operate or live or do business in those communities.
So we've got about 5 minutes left in the show, and Kenny, I want to ask you, for people in light of what happened in Orlando, what do you want to say to folks about coming down to Town Point Park tomorrow for Pride Fest?
Oh, look, please come! Please come! I'll be there.
I'll be there too.
Norfolk is welcoming. Norfolk is open. Norfolk is diverse. There's strength in our city, and my prayers go out to the families and all the LGBT and Q community that were affected. And I'm an ally. I consider myself an ally of the community, and I know you do as well, Barbara.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So, is there a like mayor's meetup where you and Donnie work together in terms of regional issues?
Yeah.
Donnie, is that?
Yeah, I'll let Donnie go, but yeah, Donnie and I, we right after the election, he and I called, and he and I pledged to get together. We of course, he's busy, I'm busy, but we have tried to get together. But Donnie and I share more things in common than we do differently, and I guess the voters, or I guess the listeners, probably could tell that there's a lot of similarity in our approach to governance. So yeah, I'm glad that Donnie is there, and I look forward to strengthening our relationship.
Great, Donnie.
Well, I guess I'm kind of the junior in this whole thing because, but yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting with Kenny. We were actually in the same place yesterday for about an hour, but after the meeting was over, he got more engaged than I did because I was really there kind of as a bystander and spectator. But I'm looking forward to it. There are actually some opportunities where we could be in the same place together, and it's a matter of just taking advantage of that and meeting separately.
Because the cities do have a lot of the same problems, so it would seem to me, the mind meld might help in terms of solving those things. So, Donnie, what do you want your legacy to be?
Well, right now it's just a matter of trying to really, really build the economic base of our city, making sure that people feel safe, having great schools, and increasing the population. And last, but having a strong relationship with Hampton University. I think that is the jewel in our community, and we've got to polish that.
Okay. Donnie Tuck, the mayor-elect, soon to be mayor, and actually gets sworn in unofficially on my birthday, which is fabulous, on June 29th. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
we
you
do appreciate that. And Kenny, what is your legacy? What do you want your legacy to be?
Well, certainly, Barbara, if we can improve schools, reduce crime, and build a middle class. I think I and Norfolk would be better for it.
Okay. And I do want to ask you one question. Since you've been both in the state legislature and now as mayor, what's the major difference do you think it's going to be for you in terms of governing?
Certainly,
Take your
only
time.
only getting 4 other of my colleagues to agree versus 21 in the getting 21 votes in the Senate and 51 in the House. It's and then all politics, of course, is local. Have an opportunity to actually see the change in real time when you're at the local level, versus doing things on the state level. It usually has to be applicable to all 134 localities. Very rarely do you do special legislation in Richmond for your locality. It's usually for the Commonwealth.
Mm-hmm.
The ordinances and the initiatives that we pass here in Norfolk and for Donnie and Hampton always it's for your city, locality, or for the region.
Okay, so we're not gonna get any special, wink, wink, nod, nods up in Richmond for Norfolk, huh?
I still have friendships there, so we're gonna look out for. Don and I talked about it. We're gonna look out for the region.
Then look out for the region. Absolutely. That is Kenneth Alexander. He is the mayor-elect of the city of Norfolk. Will be sworn in on July 1. Thank you, Kenny, so much for joining us.
Anytime,
we
Barbara.
appreciate it. Take care, and we will be right back.
What? How you living? What? How you living? Live in color.
It is Sammy A.
Hey, this is Tommy Davis. You're listening to Another View on 89.5 FM.
You brought me here from that big golden nugget in the sky, and I love you for your magical ways. I've got high hopes. I've got high hopes.
Wow, that's an old one we haven't heard in a while. Watching children experience the world around them can warm your heart and bring a smile to your face. If you inquire about their dreams, there are so many fun and exciting things that they're eager to share. But if you think that's all that's on their minds, think again. Our Lisa Godley recently spoke with several members of the Young Writers Club at Norfolk's Tidewater Park Elementary School. These students, ranging in age from 8 to 11, have written a book about their dreams for themselves, their community, and the city of Norfolk. And all we can say is, out of the mouths of babes.
3 wishes for Norfolk. I want Norfolk to live in justice.
What does that mean?
I mean, there's no more shooting anymore, and we have no more fights in the middle of the street, and people can no longer get hurt.
My 3 wishes for Norfolk are safer areas so there won't be any crime anywhere, because where I live, there's a lot of gunshots. Bigger buildings. If we had apartments and they were bigger, there would be more homes for people to stay.
I have a dream that people won't be poor. People will have beautiful homes to live in. Animals will have homes. Everyone will treat other people with respect. I would like for everyone to have jobs to do. That's my dream.
Their dreams for the future sound more like those of adults. But 9-year-old Sincere Bryant, 10-year-old Kevin Harris, and 9-year-old Giovanna Hopkins are very much children who share their thoughts, dreams, and visions as part of Tidewater Park Elementary's Young Writers Club.
I have fun at the Writer Club.
Okay, what makes it fun?
You get to write stories about anything that you want.
I like that I get to write things for other people, and that is fun. I write books for my little sister. She's now 4 now, and she can finally read.
The program is done in collaboration with the Boys and Girls Club and Norfolk Academy. Elizabeth Johnson works with the students from the Academy's Literacy Fellows program, who serve as editors for the Young Writers Club.
We write stories about everything from sci-fi to mysteries. We do some poetry. And for this project, we wanted the kids to articulate some of the hopes and the dreams that they had for themselves, but also for the city of Norfolk.
What is your favorite part of your neighborhood? That I get to have lots of friends, and they provide fun for me, and they always will protect me.
It's important to you that your friends protect you?
Yeah.
Why so?
Because I get scared a lot.
The kids are so amazing and their stories are so great. And we wanted to do something really big and epic. We just really wanted to honor the work that they did because it's so good.
They titled the book, Everyone is Welcome, Dreams from Norfolk's Youngest Voices. It features the work of more than 36 young authors who are very excited about having their work published.
I think that I might be a better person when I write books.
That I can now write more books for other people and not just my little sister.
It makes me feel like any and everything is possible.
They write about their dreams for their city and their community, not only as they see it, but as they'd like it to be. For example, Kevin's dreams for MacArthur Center.
The bigger mall, so it won't be so crowded all the time.
Or Sincere's desires for all Norfolk restaurants and basketball courts.
From now on, all restaurants have TVs, and every basketball court has a free lending library.
A lot of their dreams have a lot of the whimsy and the fun of childhood, but they're just so perceptive to the world around them and things we often don't think that children are thinking about. They're really affected by that and they're thinking of solutions.
I want to raise charity for children. I want to get them toys and things they always wanted, like books, coloring books, and math books. It's just my dream for Norfolk.
These kids are thinking about how to make things better for everybody, and that's a really exciting thing.
In addition to their dreams for their neighborhoods and their city, they also share their dreams for themselves.
I hope that I will write a book, that I will be a police officer, and to always protect my family. I think I might become a writer because I love writing stories for people. I was thinking of writing a book about time travel.
For Another View, I'm Lisa Godley.
So very, very proud of those students and all of the kids involved at Tidewater Park Elementary School. The children speak. Their book, Everyone is Welcome, Dreams from Norfolk's Youngest Voices, is available at Prince Books and the Norfolk Academy Bookstore. Looking for something to do this weekend? Check out the Hampton Roads Juneteenth Festival on Sunday, June 19th from noon until 8 p.m. at Portsmouth City Park. Juneteenth is the celebration of the end of slavery in America, and this festival, under the direction of playwright Sherry Bailey, will feature local music acts, spoken word, live theater, and oral history about past and current issues. And come on out to Pride Fest tomorrow, starting at noon at Town Point Park. I'll be there hosting the boat parade with Todd Rosenlieb and hanging out at the WHRO booth. So come on by and say hello. Next week on Another View, it's Another View on Health with Dr. Keith Newby. We're talking about the latest in prostate cancer treatment, and we'll reveal a big event happening to ensure that as many men as possible get tested. Our theme music was composed and performed by Jay Sennett. Lisa Godley is our show producer. Victor Bowen is our audio engineer, and Mercedes Sutherland answered our phones. And today is Mercedes' last day with us at Another View, so thank you so much, Mercedes, for your help. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. Happy Father's Day to all the dads who are making a difference in their children's lives. Make it a fantastic weekend, everyone. And let's get together again next Friday at noon for Another View.